Somebody put red Loctite on that. I am sick and tired of this red Loctite on this truck. Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to another video with a guy and his projects. Today we are working on the 2004 Ford F-150, and we are replacing the four-wheel drive actuators that sit on the CV axle. We're also replacing wheel bearings. If you want to see how I do that, stay tuned. We're going to jump into it right now. No story, no background, because a lot of you guys don't like that. But we are going to go over the tools that we use, which are those, and I'd explain it, except you guys want me to be faster at the intro, so I'm not going to explain what tools you are. That way you can be mad at me for not telling you what tools you need. So we'll go through it as we go through. Meantime, we do have a new wheel hub assembly. We also have a 4x4 actuator. The other one that's installed is completely broken in half, and I have a code for the front left wheel speed sensor not reading, open circuit. Yes, you could probably just replace the wire, most likely, but we're in there. I'm fixing this truck up. I don't like going back again later, so we're replacing it now. Let's get started. Bear with me, guys. I've still got the same head cold I was fighting in the last video. I can still barely breathe, but we're going for it. So, lug nuts off. Alright, we should be done with the impact until assembly time. Set that aside. Pop the tire off. Oh. Alright, next thing we're going to do is take off the caliper, which is two 18 millimeters. Alright, I'll show you which those are. So here's your caliper. Here's an 18 millimeter here. And then there's one down below right here. We're not taking the little slide pins out, just the caliper itself. I like to break the top one loose first, just because that's what I like to do. Oh. And the top one's broken loose. We're going to go to the bottom one and break that one loose. And then while we're down here, I'm just going to go ahead and take the bottom one out. Oh, jeez. That's the first visit available for the Jeep. That was one awfully. Somebody put red Loctite on that. I am sick and tired of this red Loctite on this truck. A lot of things I pulled apart have had red Loctite on them. It's not needed, guys. Very rarely. Now we're going to grab our caliper hanger, hang it in the frame here. So he had red Loctite on this one too. He just put it up too high. That is not needed. We do not need red Loctite on this stuff. So now we're going to pull the caliper off the rotor and hang it over here. Apparently we got to get rid of this vacuum line. Just unplug it so you got room. And we can go over there and hang this. Easy peasy. Okay, rotor can now come off. Alright, next step I'm going to take is I'm going to pop this cover off for the axle nut. I'm going to try and do it with just a screwdriver. Usually you can. And here we go. Oops. Now I'm going to take a 13 millimeter ratchet and pop the axle nut off. Ooh. This better not be Loctite too. There it goes. Yeah, when I replaced the engine, there were a lot of bolts under the frame that had Loctite on them. Not just Loctite, red Loctite. Do not need that. This one's not though. Now that'll be ready for when we're ready. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and unbolt the wheel bearing. Before I do that, actually, we're going to chase the ABS speed sensor, whatever it is, and we're going to unplug this everywhere. This is plugged in. Hopefully you can see up here. So we're just going to reach in, grab it, unplug it, pull it, boom. It's now hanging out of the way. So now, if you look, you see this little stud here. There's four of those. 1, 2, 3, and 4. On the back side, there is the actual bolt heads. Those are 18 millimeters. There's 1, there's 2. Up here by the tie rod is 3, and 4 underneath the tie rod. We're going to unbolt those. After we unbolt those, I think those are 18 millimeters. We're going to take an 8 millimeter and we're going to unbolt the 4x4 locking actuator, which is this guy. There's one up and top where it's all broken, if you can see that. And then there's one on this side as well. But I'm going to do the wheel hub first. I'm going to start at this one because that's what's accessible. Once I break it loose, I'm going to go to the next one and break that loose. Just breaking them loose for now. Once all four are broken loose, I'll go through and actually start to unbolt them. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm not going to have a problem, you know? Okay. No, we do not need to take the tie rod off, but we will take the upper ball joint off here in a little bit. There's one. There's two. There's three. There's four. I'm now grabbing my 3-pound sledge and I'm going to try and hammer this out. Make sure you got your axle retaining nut off or that'll ruin your day. So I'm pulling on this side while I hammer on this side. Voila, just like so. So now, ooh yeah, that's rusty. She's been dry for a few minutes. Now we're going to grab our little 8 millimeter. We're going to take those 3 bolts off that hold the locking actuator in. Okay, so that's the bolt and the actuator broken piece. And we got one on top here. There's bolt number 2. Now we're going to get bolt number 3 down here. Kind of behind the tie rod. Just a little bit under. That's bolt number 3 and more of the broken stuff dropping. Now we need to take the upper ball joint off. The reason this is because we need the knuckle to fall out so we can pull the CV axle out of the knuckle so we can get the 4x4 actuator. So this comes in a variety of forms. This one's got a pull tab, but you got to hook the cotter pin, if you will, and pull it out first. Some of them are just cotter pins, some have nylon lock washers. Your style is going to be different based on the brand. Come on now. There it is. And that's kind of what that one looks like. For me, this might be different for you. I am a 21 millimeter castle nut here. There we go. Castle nut. 3-pound hammer. We're going to hit the knuckle and try and break that loose. There it goes. I think. I hope. Yep. Okay, so perfect example of what you guys have taught me in the past. Somebody tightened these control arms while it was in the down position rather than at resting, so it won't go to rest. So it's pushing pressure down on the tire at all times. So we might loosen that up and redo that, but all right. Hopefully you just saw what I did there. Here's more of the broken pieces coming out. We just pulled the knuckle all the way out. Now we're gonna grab our CV shaft and the 4x4 actuator and just work it out of the knuckle like that. There's that. As you can see, this has been broken here, which is going to cause problems. So now, this didn't even come off in one piece. There's still stuff in there. So if you see all that, we're going to have to hammer that out probably. I don't know if I can do that with this or if I'm going to need a punch and a hammer or a screwdriver. It's a little shallow, but it works. There it goes. There's more of the pieces. And then we still got some stuff sitting here, but we'll clean that up. I want to grab a wire brush to get most of the big stuff here cleaned up. And I want to grab my wife's toothbrush and finish cleaning. We're going to clean the CV axle, all that stuff with some brake clean. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to slide the new 4x4 actuator. It's all cleaned up, got this all cleaned out. Got the seal busted out. Apparently that stayed too, so that's in like 6 pieces, but we're going to put the new 4x4 actuator on here, and then we're going to slide this back in through the knuckle. At that point, we'll bolt the 4x4 actuator up, put the retaining nut on the axle, and we can assemble everything else. There's more of that part. So this one is a Dorman, and it came pre-greased. Doesn't mean they all do, but this one did. So we're going to put that on like so, and then we're going to aim it into the knuckle like so. And now we're going to pick the knuckle up and put it back on the upper ball joint. So get your castle nut ready. And you're gonna kind of aim all that back in like so. Oh. And we're not gonna tighten this castle nut up just yet. We're just getting it in place. I think I wanna go loosen those bolts up and tighten this at right height anyhow. So that's just on enough to hold it. We're gonna look back here and we're going to line this actuator up with the bolt holes it needs to go to. When you're screwing these in, you might have to manipulate the CV axle just a little bit. I am also putting just a little bit of anti-seize. Yeah, I know I said a little bit, that looks like a lot. I'm putting a lot of bit of anti-seize on, but I meant to get a little bit, okay? Now we just gotta find that bolt hole. Just right there. And go this side, we're gonna find the upper bolt hole. And then we're gonna get the one that's behind the tie rod over here. Should thread in fairly easy, especially if you put anti-seize on them. And then again, this is plastic, so oops. So when you get your 8mm, do not over tighten. We're just gonna snug these in there. And once I got one just almost snug, I'm gonna move to the next. And we're gonna get all 3 of them lined up before we go and actually snug them. So we can get that one, go across here, get the front one. Doesn't matter in what order, as long as you don't, you know, as long as it sits even, you're good. All right, so now that they're all set, I'm just gonna go as tight as I can go with my pinky, if that makes sense. You don't want to go any tighter than you have to, but you need to be tight enough. And I hope that's enough direction for you. I know it's probably not, but all right, so that is in there. So this is all good now. If you wanted to, go ahead and tighten up your upper control arm or your upper ball joint, or you could just continue on. Your call. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten in my upper control arm. And then you want to tighten it so you can see through the cotter pin, see enough to stick a cotter pin through, which for me is right there. These cotter pins I actually really like. They're super easy because you just push them in and boom, they're locked in, good to go. Okay, so now we can focus on the wheel hub. So my 4x4 actuator came pre-greased by Dorman. However, the wheel hub bearing did not. So in here, I'm just gonna grab a little wheel bearing grease, a lot, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. I want to do my best to pack it into these little needle bearings because it does not look like these came with grease. Now, depending on what you buy, they may or may not. Mine just don't look like they did. And then this is your cutout for your sensor wire, so we're going to make sure that sits in that direction. I'm going to get this mated up as much as we reasonably can. So, sorry it took a minute. I went and anti-seized. I can edit that out so you guys don't even know it took a minute. I went and anti-seized all 4 of these bolts that go in to hold the hub on. So now we're just going to get them started. You do not want to cross thread these, and I don't know if anti-seize is proper or not, but I like anti-seize living in South Dakota, so that's what I did. I'm going to hand thread these into all 4 holes, and then we'll grab the ratchet and suck them in tight. Now we grab our ratchet, and we are going to snug all 4 up. We're going to go top, sorry, just made you guys bounce, till that's snug, top left, or whatever, top rear. I want to go to the bottom front. I'm going to snug this one up. I'm going to get all 4 of them snug before I start torquing them down. Alright, and the torque specs I will put on the bottom of your screen for as much of this as I can find online. Take them for what they're worth. I'm going to go about there, but I'll put the legit torque specs down below. Not a bad idea to touch all 4 of them again, because once it all seats, things shift. So now we're going to plug this guy in here because knowing me, I will forget to do it later and it'll be a pain once the rotor's on. Okay, so that's in, out of the way. We're just going to throw this up here for now. So now we need to put the retaining nut on the axle. Again, you probably don't need anti-seize, but I like anti-seize. Have our 13mm ratchet, wrench, socket, whatever. And again, don't know torque specs, but I will link it down below if I can find it. Axle nuts on. Now we're free to actually put the rotor on and all that. We're going to address the wire here in a few minutes, but let's get the rotor on first. There There's that, and then we'll grab the caliper. Oh yeah, before I forget, you can put your axle nut housing back on, which somebody before me crunched that in. That was not me. You might have to hammer that on for a seat. I don't know. I don't, but you might. Alrighty, so your rotor's in place. Now you can grab your caliper, slide that up. Look at that, there's more broken pieces of that sucker. We're gonna put the caliper in place. You're gonna wanna have one of these bolts available to you. And you guys are going to not be able to see once I put my arm in the way. So, move you to this side. Alright, grab our caliper, swing that up. As long as we didn't touch the brakes or anything, we should be able to slide this back on. And you're just gonna line up your holes. And this can be a struggle. Don't think that it's not. And you want this on straight. You do not want to cross thread these. So take your time, do some wiggling, get her lined up right. Grab your second bolt. I do the bottom one last because you can't see anything down there. And again, just wiggle till you find the hole. They like wiggling, so if you don't find the hole, it's not the end of the world from what I understand. And then you can just start snugging those guys up too. Oh yeah, take that out so you don't leave it. Been there, done that. Not great. Okay, once you get them both snug, you can go ahead and torque them to whatever value you find. I will try, oh man. Once you get these both snugged up, you can torque them down to whatever value you like. I'll try to link down what I think is the OEM spec down below for you. But don't just take my word for it. Look it up. About that tight for me. Okay, so now we're gonna find our wire and we're gonna route this along however it goes. Should have paid more attention when I pulled it apart, shouldn't I have? So we're gonna clip it in here, which is broken, that's great. Clip it in there. Goes up in this metal bracket. This attaches to the control arm. Hopefully you can see where I'm at. We're gonna take this and we're gonna pop it in. Like so. Somebody's already ruined this one, so it ain't gonna clip back on for me. So let me grab some zip ties. I'm gonna zip tie it down over here. Okay, so we're gonna zip tie this to this other cable. Zip tie it there. This is probably good to just bounce around, but we're gonna put a tie on it over here as well. Ugh, just to piss me off next time I go to take it off for whatever reason. Snip, snips. Snip and snip. Voila, speed sensors in, calipers on, nuts on, tightened up. I just gotta put our tire back on. Oh. I got my torque stick to 140 foot-pounders. Once you get to it, everything should be mounted, so you can start it, you can go in a circle, I don't care. Voila, done deal. Yee-yee. Drop her down. Alright, that's all there is to it, replacing your front wheel hub bearing and 4x4 actuator assembly on a 2004 Ford F-150. In fact, I'd be willing to bet the process is the same for pretty much any F-150 from, I don't even know, I'm just going to spitball 97 through 2020. Very simple process, not overly involved, not too complicated. You can do it. So, thanks for watching. I will link parts down below. Yeah, keep watching. It really helps me to keep posting. So when you guys stop watching, I lose interest in posting. So watch, comment, thumbs up, subscribe. Donate if you'd like through the descriptions down below. And we will see you next time. And hopefully I can breathe because right now I am out of breath. This head cold needs to go away. Hopefully it will soon. Bye.